Something is happening in Boston that very few people saw coming, and it goes far beyond the ordinary ups and downs of an offseason. For months, the Celtics have been moving chess pieces across the board with a boldness that has left rival front offices scrambling to understand the long game. First came the departures that no fan imagined happening so quickly. Jrue Holiday, Kristaps Porzingis, Luke Kornet, and even Al Horford, the kind of veterans who defined the grit of the 2024 championship run, are all gone. On the surface, it looked like a dismantling. But beneath the surface, there is a plan unfolding that might prepare Boston for dominance well into the second half of this decade. The centerpiece of speculation right now is Anfernee Simons. Acquired from Portland in exchange for Jrue Holiday, his arrival felt like a glimpse into the future. A guard who averaged nearly 20 points per game last season, just 25 years old, on a contract that teams across the league would line up for. But almost immediately, reports began swirling that his time in green might be shorter than anyone anticipated. Why would Boston consider flipping a scorer of his caliber so quickly? The answer may not be as simple as points per game. Chris Mannix of Sports Illustrated raised the curtain on what could be the true motivation. Boston has quietly positioned itself just under the first apron of a luxury tax. In a league where every dollar over the tax can chain a franchise for years, that flexibility is gold. Mannix hinted that if the Celtics could move Simons' contract, they would not just be saving money. They would be buying time. Time to extend their window into 2026 and beyond. Time to set up an even bigger move that nobody sees coming yet. And if history tells us anything, it is that Brad Stevens never makes a trade without a long-term vision. The question becomes, who would be willing to take on Simons, and more importantly, what would Boston demand in return? They are not in the business of selling low. They are in the business of extracting value. That is why every rumor about Simons has to be looked at carefully. A deal could unlock assets that turn Boston from a contender into a dynasty builder. The front office is not thinking about survival this season. They are plotting what the Celtics will look like when Jayson Tatum returns from his Achilles injury and Jaylen Brown enters his prime years with no restraints. And this is where the real curiosity emerges. If Simons stays, he could become a central piece in keeping Boston's offense alive while Tatum recovers. His scoring ability, his handle, his creation off the dribble, all of that could make him indispensable. But if he goes, it means Boston has identified something even greater waiting on the other side of the trade market. What kind of opportunity would force them to part with a young 20-point scorer in his prime? Could it be another rising star trapped in the wrong situation? Could it be future draft capital that keeps Boston ahead of the financial curve while still maintaining a championship core? Fans may feel torn. Part of them wants to see Simons light it up in green and prove that he can be more than just a bridge to the future. But part of them senses that Stevens has something bigger in mind, something that requires sacrifice now in order to secure banners later. Remember, the last time the Celtics made painful moves, sending out key pieces of a finals roster, they ended up with a title in 2024. This front office has earned trust. So the real suspense is not whether Boston will make another move, but when. Mannix has already said it would not surprise him to see it happen soon. The timing will be everything. A trade before the season would send shockwaves across the league. A trade at mid-season, once other teams become desperate, could extract maximum value. Either way, the Celtics are sitting in a position of strength that rivals are pretending not to notice. In the end, this is about more than Anfernee Simons, more than a tax bill, more than filling minutes left behind by veterans. It is about positioning Boston for a second wave of contention, one that could stretch into the end of the decade. The rest of the league can debate rankings and awards, but Boston is quietly crafting a structure that could outlast them all. And for Celtics fans, the question burning in everyone's mind is simple. If the next move is coming, who will it be for, and how much closer will it bring the team to another championship parade through the streets of Boston? The numbers are undeniable. Since the year 2018, the Boston Celtics have secured 72 playoff victories, more than any other team in the NBA. That consistency alone separates them from the pack, and yet it feels as though Brad Stevens and the front office are only beginning to shape what could be the most intriguing roster of this new decade. As we shift deeper into September, the air is heavy with speculation. Fans know the Celtics are not done. What is brewing behind the scenes could change the balance of power in the Eastern Conference once again, and the hints point toward a move that no one saw coming. The focus for weeks has been on Anfernee Simons. Brought to Boston in the high-profile exchange that sent Jrue Holiday to Portland, Simons represents both potential and uncertainty. Earning roughly $27 million for this season alone, his contract hangs like a question mark over the payroll structure. Chris Mannix of Sports Illustrated raised the possibility that Stevens could use one final trade to clear the books and set up financial flexibility for the year 2026 and beyond. That suggestion alone sparked fire among insiders. Could Simons, a guard who averaged over 19 points per game last season, really be flipped before even suiting up in green? The whispers grew louder each day, especially with Jayson Tatum sidelined by his torn Achilles. But then, just as speculation seemed to narrow toward Simons, another storyline exploded out of Philadelphia. Kelly Oubre Jr., a player whose career has been defined by streaks of brilliance and fiery emotion, took to social media with a cryptic message. He declared his love for Philadelphia, yet lamented that the feeling was not mutual. He reminded fans he had played through years of finger surgeries and still poured his soul into the game. The timing was striking. Philadelphia faces a financial squeeze with restricted free agent Quentin Grimes and appears ready to cut ties. Oubre, sitting on an expiring deal worth $8 million, suddenly looks like one of the most movable pieces on the market. This is where Boston enters the picture again. An expiring contract of that size is precisely the type of deal that allows Stevens to maneuver under the first tax apron while adding depth and energy to the roster. Oubre is far more than a salary filler. At 6'7", with a fearless offensive mentality, he brings a scoring punch and a swagger that could ignite a team searching for fresh identity while Tatum recovers. The connection almost writes itself. Philadelphia saves money to lock in Grimes. Oubre gets a fresh start in Boston, where the stage is brighter, and the Celtics gain a weapon who has proven he can step into big moments. The trade machine scenarios are already being tested. A potential swap involving Sam Hauser or other movable contracts has been floated, though opinions vary on whether Stevens would part with Hauser's elite shooting. What makes Oubre unique is not only his expiring deal, but his ability to step immediately into minutes on the wing, keeping the Celtics versatile without committing long-term money. Imagine a rotation where Jaylen Brown slides seamlessly between shooting guard and small forward, with Oubre soaking up defensive assignments and providing instant offense. For franchise-balancing championship contention with fiscal responsibility, the fit is as logical as it is tantalizing. What elevates the intrigue is the timing. The NBA regular season tips off in just over a month, and opening night pits Boston against Philadelphia. Could Oubre be wearing green instead of red and white by then? The drama writes itself. A player spurned by his former city, returning to face them on national television, this time as part of the very team that has tormented the Sixers for years. And yet, beneath all of this, Stevens continues to work in silence. Each move this offseason has been deliberate, from letting go of beloved veterans like Al Horford to the calculated risk of reshaping the frontcourt. The possibility of adding Oubre signals a front office unwilling to rest on a single championship banner. It suggests a commitment to giving Brown, Tatum when he returns, and the entire city of Boston a team not only capable of competing, but capable of reinventing itself year after year. The Celtics are not merely searching for short-term fixes. They are building an infrastructure to dominate the late 2020s. An Oubre trade might appear small compared to blockbuster names, yet history shows the margins often decide titles. A fearless scorer off the bench, a contract that provides flexibility, a chance to undercut a rival in Philadelphia, and a front office that refuses to let the window close. These are the ingredients that keep Boston one step ahead. So as the offseason winds down, do not be fooled by the quiet. Beneath the surface, the Celtics are sharpening their final move. Whether it is Anfernee Simons, Kelly Oubre Jr., or another surprise waiting in the shadows, one truth remains. The team with 72 playoff wins since 2018 is not satisfied. And when Stevens pulls the trigger, the league will once again be forced to chase the standards set in Boston. The league is still catching its breath from the wave of changes Boston unleashed this summer, and yet the story is not finished. Just when rivals thought the Celtics had settled into their new reality, another set of questions has emerged that could shape the way this team opens the next campaign. The discussion is no longer only about trades or financial flexibility. It is now about identity, legacy, and the kind of choices that reveal how a franchise truly sees itself. The first question comes with a name every Celtics fan knows: Al Horford. For years, he was the steady presence, the first major free agent to commit to Boston in the modern era, the anchor of a championship run that finally lifted banner 18 in the year 2024. Many assumed his jersey would one day rise to the rafters without debate. But the narrative took a sharp turn when his future collided with Jayson Tatum's devastating Achilles tear. Suddenly, Boston could not justify paying Horford at full value in a year without their superstar. And Horford, unwilling to waste precious seasons, turned toward Golden State in pursuit of one last ring. Now the question lingers like a storm cloud. Does 7 seasons, 2 finals appearances, and a title guarantee him immortality in Boston, or does leaving in pursuit of another trophy complicate the legacy? Some fans point to his role as more vital than names already hanging in the Garden. Others wonder if history will place him in a different tier once Brown and Tatum carve out their own finals runs without him. It is a debate that new ownership will eventually have to answer, and the timing of that decision will echo for decades. While legacy questions stir emotions, the present demands something even more pressing. Who fills the void at power forward? With Horford gone and Kristaps Porzingis shipped out earlier this offseason, the Celtics enter camp with more uncertainty in the frontcourt than they have had in years. The options are intriguing, yet unproven. Joe Mazzulla could roll out an all-offense lineup, sliding Jaylen Brown and Sam Hauser into the forward spots, maximizing shooting and spacing, but risking rebounding and rim protection. He could go double big, giving Chris Boucher and Nemias Quetta the chance to form a rugged interior tandem with surprising range. Or he could gamble on a wild card, a young name like Josh Minott emerging from the shadows to inject athleticism into an up-tempo attack. Each path tells a different story about what Boston values most in this transitional season. Will they lean on firepower to outscore opponents while Tatum recovers? Or will they double down on size and defense, knowing that playoff basketball demands physicality? The truth may be somewhere in between, and that is where curiosity grips the fan base. Every training camp battle will feel like a clue, every preseason lineup like a glimpse into Mazzulla's larger vision. The situation becomes even more fascinating when viewed through the lens of what might have been. Had Tatum stayed healthy, many believe both Horford and Luke Kornet would still be wearing green. Instead of investing roster spots on developmental pieces like Josh Minott or Luka Garza, Stevens likely would have targeted proven veterans on short deals, names like Bruce Brown, Larry Nance Jr., or Tim Hardaway Jr., all of whom signed minimum contracts elsewhere. That alternate reality forces fans to ask a haunting question. How different would the roster look if one injury had never happened? Yet this is where Boston's resilience shines. Even with setbacks, Stevens and Mazzulla refuse to let the window close. The Hugo Gonzalez draft pick suggests a long view, an understanding that while not every selection changes the present, each one can change the future. The young core battling for rotation spots proves the front office is willing to blend immediate contention with developmental growth. That balancing act is what keeps Boston dangerous. So as camp begins, the spotlight turns toward the power forward position. Is more than a tactical decision. It is a symbol. The player who wins that job will embody the identity of his Celtics team without Tatum. If it is Hauser, it means trust in shooting and spacing. If it is Boucher, it signals a commitment to length and defense. If it is Quetta, it represents a belief in size and toughness. And if it is a surprise like Minott, it announces to the league that Boston is ready to shock everyone with bold choices once again. For the fans, the excitement is undeniable. The questions are many, the answers are not yet clear, and that is exactly what makes this moment so electric. The Celtics have never been a franchise content with stability. They thrive in reinvention. And with 72 playoff wins since the year 2018, no other team has proven better at turning uncertainty into banners.